Stephen Curry looked Steve Kerr in the eye and said, "Don't you ever bench me again. You trusted the system. You forgot who I am." The night it happened, Chase Setter wasn't quiet, but something in it felt off. Game 5. Second round. Warriors vs Grizzlies. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Down by 6. Stephen Curry took a seat. Not because he was in foul trouble. Not because he asked to sit. Not because he looked tired. He was benched. Steve Kerr had called for Brandin Porter, the 22-year-old rookie guard lighting up the bench stat sheet, to sub in for Curry. The crowd was confused. So was Steph. He didn't argue. Didn't flinch. He just walked to the bench, grabbed a towel, and stared at the court like he didn't recognize the jersey anymore. After the game, which the Warriors lost by 11, Curry skipped the media room. He didn't speak. Kerr tried to deflect. "We're experimenting. Trying combinations. Looking for a spark." But inside the locker room, the air was heavy. Draymond sat on one end, quiet. Klay laced up his shoes slower than usual. And Steph? He stood up, looked straight at Kerr, and with a calm voice said, "Don't you ever bench me again." Everyone heard it. No one responded. The next morning, nothing was normal. Steph showed up early. Earlier than trainers. Did drills without headphones. No music. Just silence. According to staffers, he shot over 1,000 jumpers before 10 a.m. Not for rhythm. Not for peace. For statement. And he didn't say a word to anyone. Later that afternoon, a private film session was called. Kerr walked through the rotations from Game 5. When he paused at the moment Steph was pulled, no one said anything. Not even Steph. But he didn't look at the screen. He looked at Kerr. And that silence? It burned louder than any highlight reel. By Game 6, the locker room was split. Some felt Kerr was thinking long-term, trying to groom the rookie. Others knew this was a misstep, a moment when a coach believed too much in the system and forgot the soul of the dynasty. Kerr pulled Steph aside pre-game. "I believe in you. I was just trying to find rhythm." Steph replied, "Rhythm? I am the rhythm." Then walked out. Game 6 was different. Steph didn't pass much. Didn't celebrate shots. Didn't shimmy. He scored 46. When asked about it after, he still said nothing. But the next day, his wife Aisha posted a photo of his sneakers. On the sole, scribbled in Sharpie, "You forgot who I am." The story leaked fast. ESPN ran with it. Power struggle in the Bay? Podcasters picked sides. Former players chimed in. Kevin Garnett said, "If you ever disrespect your MVP like that, you don't deserve him." Even KD tweeted a vague, "Don't poke quiet fire." Behind the scenes, Kerr tried to hold the room. Meetings were held. Conversations were had. But Steph? He kept showing up first. Leaving last. Outworking everyone, but saying nothing. No interviews. No jokes. Just fire. Klay reportedly told a trainer, "He's not mad. He's awake." The Warriors won Game 7. Steph had 39. As the final buzzer rang, he didn't lift his hands. He walked straight to Kerr, stared at him for a second, then extended a hand. No words. Just a look that said everything. Kerr took it. In the tunnel, cameras caught Steph whispering to Brandin Porter, "You're gonna be great, kid. But this is still my time." Legacy doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. Sometimes it just says, "Don't forget who I am." And when that legacy wears number 30, you better listen. Over the summer, Curry didn't post much. No championship camps. No brand tours. Just quiet workouts with old trainers and long hours in the gym. He turned down an interview with GQ. Turned down a podcast with Draymond. Turned down a guest commentary gig on ESPN. People began to wonder, is Steph okay? Then one day, an old video surfaced, Curry at Davidson, 18 years old, whispering before a big game, "Let them sleep." The clip went viral. Fans started using it as a meme. But inside the Warriors facility, no one laughed. They remembered what Steph looked like that day in Game 6, and they knew. He wasn't finished. He was just refocused. In the fall, at Media Day, Steph finally spoke. He didn't address the benching. Didn't call out Kerr. Didn't throw shade. He simply said, "I've got one more level. You're gonna see it." Opening night. Warriors vs Celtics. The lights dim. Steph walks out, no smile, no family in the crowd, no pre-game dance. He scores 54. Midway through the third quarter, Kerr calls for a sub. Steph walks to the bench. Kerr pulls his hand back. "Stay in," he says. Steph nods once. And keeps going. Legacy doesn't fade. It reawakens. And the league? They just remembered why number 30 was never just a shooter. He was the system all along. The Warriors rode that wave through the regular season. Curry led the league in 30-plus point games, but it wasn't just the numbers. It was the silence. No celebrations. No dancing. No signature shimmy. He'd hit a dagger three and just walk back. Calm. Measured. Inevitable. Draymond said in an interview, "It's like he's got ice in his veins and fire in his soul." Steph never responded to the praise. Never leaned into the media's redemption arc. Never said, "I told you so." Because this wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about reminding himself, he still had it. All-Star Weekend. Steph declined the three-point contest invite. The league begged. Nike pushed. TNT prepped graphics. He smiled and said, "Let the kids have it." But on Saturday night, he showed up courtside, in all black, and watched in silence. When Brandin Porter, the rookie who once replaced him, hit 29 in the first round, Steph stood and clapped. Quiet. Respectful. Unbothered. When asked about it later, he said, "I never compete to crush. I compete to create space, for all of us." Playoffs. First round. Warriors vs Kings. Game 1. Halftime. Warriors down 17. In the locker room, Kerr starts his speech. Mid-sentence, Steph stands. Walks to the board. Picks up the marker. He doesn't talk plays. Doesn't diagram defense. He writes 3 words. Move with purpose. Then sits down. Kerr nods. Doesn't say a word. They win by 12. Western Conference Finals. Warriors vs Suns. KD vs Steph. Old friends, old tension, nothing fake. Game 3. Steph has 17 at the half. The Warriors trail by 9. Third quarter starts. Curry doesn't take a single shot for 7 minutes. Then, after a long rebound, he walks the ball up slowly, looks at Kerr, then nods. Pulls up from 32 feet. Bang. Next possession, steal. Another 3. Timeout Suns. Steph walks back to the bench and whispers. "This is what rhythm looks like." Kerr just smiles. Finals. Warriors vs Bucks. Steph vs Giannis. Narratives explode. ESPN headlines scream, "Can the system beat the force?" Game 1, Warriors win by 6. Steph drops 38. Game 2, Bucks dominate. Giannis gets 44 and 19 boards. Game 3, the series swings. With the Warriors down 2 with 9 seconds left, Curry calls an ISO. Wiggins hesitates. Draymond questions the set. Kerr starts to call a timeout. Steph holds up a hand, "Trust me." Crossover. Step back. Splash. Game 4, Warriors win again. The league watches in awe. Not just because of the numbers, but because of the message. Curry never needed saving. He just needed remembering. Game 6, championship night. The Warriors up 3-2. Home court. Steph walks into the Chase Center 2 hours early. Alone. He dribbles slowly down the tunnel. Takes a seat at the scorer's table. And just watches the floor. One security guard later said. He looked like a man visiting a place he built. Game starts. Giannis dominates early. Steph struggles. 2 of 9 from 3 in the first half. Then comes the moment. Fourth quarter. 88-88. 2:19 left. Curry gets a switch. 1-on-1 with Brook Lopez. Step back 3. Swish. Next trip down, Curry pump fakes, drives, reverse layup. Timeout Bucks. Crowd explodes. With 12 seconds left, Warriors up 4, Steph gets fouled. He walks to the line. Dribbles once. Looks to the rafters. Then closes his eyes. Swish. Swish. Final score, 108-102. Warriors, champions again. Steph holds the trophy, not high, not loud. Just close. Interviewers swarm. Steph gives one quote. "I never left. You just stopped looking." Legacy rewritten. Not through revenge. Not through rage. But through rhythm. Steph Curry didn't reclaim his throne. He just reminded the world he never gave it up. After the championship, the media frenzy hit full throttle. Talk shows debated Steph's place in history. Fans demanded new rankings. ESPN analysts started whispering the unthinkable. Is Steph Curry now a top 5 player ever? But inside the Warriors facility, things were quiet. Grounded. Respectful. Brandin Porter, once caught in the shadow of that fateful substitution, was the first to speak out publicly. Steph taught me more by not talking than any coach ever has. He paused, then added. The way he carries himself, that's the blueprint. Off-season of clarity. Steph flew to Italy with his family. No interviews. No guest appearances. Just family, wine, and silence. But one moment made the rounds, a video of him training alone on an old stone court in Tuscany, no fans, no trainers. He shot 100 free throws. Made 98. Then whispered to the camera crew. Legacy is a daily decision. The video went viral. Back in the States, a ripple effect. Other stars started speaking differently. Trae Young mentioned Steph's leadership in a post-game quote. You don't have to be loud to be dominant. Damian Lillard tweeted. Respect to the OG sniper. He changed the game twice. Even LeBron commented on a podcast. That man rewrote what legacy looks like. Respect. The following season, a different fire. Opening night, Steph didn't come out last during intros. He let the rookie Porter walk last, spotlight on him. Then Steph jogged out with no fanfare. But from tip-off, it was clear, he wasn't done. 35 points. 8 threes. 11 assists. And a look that said, I'm still here. Retirement whispers. Mid-season, the rumors swirled. Is this Steph's last ride? But when asked, he smiled. As long as my body moves and my heart burns, I'm not done. The statue speech. A year later, the Warriors unveiled the Steph Curry statue outside Chase Center. Thousands attended. When it was Steph's turn to speak, he paused. Looked up at the statue. Then back at the crowd. He said. This statue isn't about shooting. It's about staying. He continued. Staying true. Staying quiet. Staying when people stop seeing you. That's legacy. Crowd silence. Then thunder. Closing reflection. In a quiet interview years later, Steph was asked. What was the moment you knew you had nothing left to prove? He smiled. When I got benched and didn't get bitter. That was the moment I took my power back. And that's what made Steph and Curry dangerous again. Not just the shot. Not just the stats. But the silence. The silence that reminded the world. You trusted the system. You forgot who I am. Years later, long after retirement, Steph returns to Chase Center for a tribute night. The lights go dim. The Jumbotron plays a montage. From Davidson to Dynasties. From the shimmy to the silence. From Game 6 to Game 7 to Game Always. He walks to center court. The crowd chants his name. But instead of a speech, he just smiles. Removes his shoes. Places them at half court. Then turns around and walks away, leaving behind nothing but sneakers, and legacy. On the tongue of each shoe, handwritten. Don't forget who I am. The legend lives. Post-legacy, the mentor chapter. In retirement, Steph didn't disappear. He returned to the game, not with sneakers, but with vision. He launched a foundation focused on youth mentorship, called the Quiet Flame. Its motto? Lead from within. He began hosting closed-door camps for underdog prospects, the ones no one believed in. No cameras. No sponsors. Just training, silence, and story sharing. One kid asked him, "What do I do when the world stops cheering?" Steph smiled. Cheer for yourself. That echo is louder than the crowd. League-wide impact. Years later, NBA players cite Steph's approach as career-altering. The league adopts new mindfulness programs. Coaches start calling it the Curry model. Not built on bravado. Built on stillness. And in front offices, a framed quote becomes legend. You trusted the system. You forgot who I am. It's no longer about Steph. It's about every player fighting to be seen. Legacy complete. But never over. His jersey hangs. His name echoes. His records shine. But Steph's greatest gift wasn't a ring. Or a record. It was a reminder. You don't have to be loud to change the world. You just have to mean every move.